Yo, what is up everyone, Karma here, and welcome back to another boring math video here in Borderlands 3. Today, I wanted to take a look at Catharsis. This is one of Amara's skills in the red tree. Not really a great skill, but recently it has really caught my attention due to it receiving Mayhem scaling. I also recently noticed that it's action skill damage, so action skill damage can increase the damage dealt by Catharsis. So in this video, I'll be breaking down this skill to show you the Mayhem scaling bonus that we get when using this skill, and also show you how to increase the damage of this skill as much as possible. So before I get into this video, if you found it informative or helpful in any way, a like rating is always appreciated, and if you want to subscribe for more content like this, that'll be awesome as well. Starting off, let's take a quick look at the skill itself, and it says, whenever Amara triggers an elemental effect on an enemy, when that enemy dies, the enemy explodes, dealing her attuned element damage. That means that it's going to deal our action skill element damage. So in this case, we are using shock for now, but you can switch it to incendiary or corrosive if you like. It also says, along with any other element that is currently inflicted upon that enemy. This skill has a short cooldown. So that means that if the enemy is currently being burned or affected by corrosive damage, any sort of dot damage, it will also give you that damage. So you can already see how this can be very useful with bonus elements, with infusion, with conflux. All of those can give you multiple damage instances with this Catharsis Nova. Anyway, so there is a cooldown, so don't expect to trigger these explosions all over the place. This is the only bad thing about this skill. Other than that, the damage you can deal can be pretty decent. So let's show you a bare bones example. I will be killing an enemy with this light show right here, which is going to deal fire damage. Once Catharsis procs, I will do fire damage and my action skill element damage with that explosion, so it's going to be shock and fire. So when maxed out, this is going to do 3,413 damage. We already said that the Nova will deal both shock and fire damage, so let's calculate this. For the incendiary, we get 3413 multiplied by incendiary against flesh, because that's what we're going to be shooting at. Then multiply by the increase of tempest, in this case for fire it's 30%. And finally get the Mayhem scaling, and the Mayhem scaling for this skill is 3000%, so we multiply by 31, giving us 240k. And now for shock, we get 3413, then shock against flesh 0.65, multiplied by the increase of tempest. For shock, it's going to be 40%. And finally, the Mayhem scaling of 3000%, giving us 96k. So we're going to do 240k as fire damage and 96k as shock damage. And as you can see by this gameplay, when we proc Catharsis, we deal 240k as incendiary damage and 96k as shock damage. Moving on, let's talk about ways to increase this damage even more. Well, there are several ways. You can increase your elemental damage, your splash damage, and your action skill damage. Yes, increasing action skill damage will increase the damage that you deal with Catharsis, which is actually great. So, quick example at a minor scale, we're gonna add some increases to this damage. First, let's get our splash damage. We're gonna get arms deal, which is going to give me a 20% increase to my splash damage. And we also got our elemental damage, which we already talked about. We're going to get tempest, 30% for most elements, and shock is going to be 40%. So far we got our elemental increase and our splash increase. Now we get some action skill damage. For this, I'm going to max out to harm, which is going to give me 4.5% per stack consumed. We're going to get our 10 rush stacks with violent tapestry by dotting ourselves in the foot with a sellout pistol. Once we do that, we're going to have 10 rush stacks, and when we use our action skill, we're going to consume those 10 stacks to give us a 45% increase to our action skill damage. So now let's calculate the damage that we're going to do with Catharsis this time around. Our Fire Nova is going to be 3413 multiplied by the Fire Against Flesh multiplier, then we apply the Tempest of 30%, then the splash damage increase from arms deal of 20%, then we apply the action skill damage increase of 45%, and finally the Mayhem scaling of 3000%, giving us 418k as fire damage. And if we calculate our Shock Nova, it'll deal 167k. And if we try this out, as you can see by this gameplay, I'm dealing 418k as fire damage and 167k as shock damage. And that was nothing, by the way. If you use a phaser class mod and get 99 stacks of do harm, then have some splash damage radius, splash damage, elemental damage, and AoE damage increase on our artifacts and class mods, we can end up dealing millions of damage per Catharsis Nova. The only problem, of course, is the 8-second cooldown. So there you go, increasing elemental, splash, and action skill damages will help you maximize your damage output with Catharsis. Other things include holding a weapon with an active 200% splash anointment or the 300/90 anointment. Same applies to bonus elements on shields and the URAT anointment. Another thing that you can do is use Conflux. Conflux will apply a random element whenever you dot an enemy, so that extra element that you apply will also affect the Catharsis Nova. So Conflux is a really good combo that you could use. Additionally, with Conflux, you are going to get Harmageddon stacks, and Harmageddon will make that enemy take 5% more damage per unique status effect affecting them. So if you have like 3 or 4 status effects, that's an easy 20% extra damage with that Catharsis Nova. I just mentioned this, but don't forget to increase your splash damage radius and AoE damage as much as possible, so you can have a wider range with that Nova. And remember that although this Nova can deal millions of damage, it does have an 8-second cooldown, which is the worst part about it. I personally will still run it in my build along with Conflux, but that's just me. Let me know what you all think. Hope you enjoyed this video, and if you did, please don't forget to hit that like button for me, as that would be greatly appreciated. And if you want to subscribe for more content like this, that'll be awesome as well. Have a good rest of your day, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace out.